Thanks for inviting me to be here. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about the historical context of what's happening, because, well, it's interesting. The ecological problems that we face today are much more than just climate change. 2/3 of the world's ecosystems are in substantial decline. The Amazon jungle is being chopped down faster than ever before. Tens of thousands of species go extinct every year. The bigger problem that we face, which climate change is part of, is never-ending growth. It just continues. And if we are to solve the problem of growth, we need to understand its impetus. And that impetus is efficiency. Now, this is interesting, because what creates growth, efficiency, is also what a lot of people think being green is about. And so I want to put this in a context, because we've got two entirely different views over here. And I'm going to go back a few hundred years to one of my favorite stories, which is James Hargreaves. And he comes up with this invention. It's all about history. I'll build it up. It'll start making sense at some point. So James Hargreaves comes up with this idea. It's called the spinning jenny. It was the marvelous technology wonder of its era, because now you could spin yarn twice as fast. You can now produce twice as much fabric with half the amount of labor. Amazing. But you see, even though they could produce more fabric, people weren't consuming more. And what was the consequence? Well, the consequence was there was rising unemployment. You see, efficiency puts a mandate on the economy that unless you grow the economy by consuming more, you'll end up with rising unemployment and a potential recession. So how did Europe get out of this little recession? Well, first they had a slight revolution with the Luddites, and everybody was smashing machines, and it was quite dramatic. But eventually, people, wild consumerist ideas, such as changing your underwear weekly, started catching on. And people started to use more fabric. You see, that's it. You can make stuff more efficient, you can produce more, but unless you consume more, you'll end up with a potential recession. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting and starts fitting in. So we're going to jump 100 years. Henry Ford comes up with this idea. He didn't invent the assembly line. He invented the electrification of the assembly line. And between 1914 and 1917, he could produce twice as many Fords with less labor. And he loved this so much, he told everybody in America, he loved American industry, just electrify your assembly line, you can do the same. And before you knew it, everything was being mass-produced. Radios, you name it, they could build it faster than ever before. The output capacity of the United States doubled in a short space of time. But what they didn't have was mass consumption. They'd invented mass production. That's what efficiency does. So what happened? Well, you had the Great Depression. People were not consuming everything that was being bought. See, our great-grandparents, they were quite the frugal people. A chest of drawers would be passed from daughter down, and cutlery, it could last 100 years. And also, they lived in quite what we describe as sustainable cities. They were all livable or walkable. Most cities in the United States had an effective interurban system. You didn't really need a car. You could walk everywhere. Pretty much everything that we now say is what our cities need to be was the way they were built. This ain't new. This is what existed. But they had a problem. Was rising unemployment. So Roosevelt didn't really understand what was going on, but he cottoned on to an idea. Well, there's a few 100,000 people outside my office protesting. Give them a job. Tell them to go build a road, which is what he did. And the United States built roads everywhere. Roads went here. Roosevelt didn't care where the roads were as long as people weren't protesting. The Communist Party, their membership went up to like 5%. He was getting worried. But this is where it gets interesting. Because where the roads went, developers said, hey, we can put a house there. You know what? We can put a mall over there. And suburbia came along. See, suburbia was a response to the efficiency of American industry, because now both mom and papa needed a car. Previously, they didn't need it because they had effective transportation. They had basements. You could fill those basements up with stuff. And mass consumption evolved to match mass production. Now, when we're looking at effective city design, we're saying, well, we need to do it that way and it'll be great. But they're not talking, nobody's really talking about massive unemployment. We're now creating a whole new consumer mindset where it's no longer just about owning one condo here. It's one condo over here and one over there, multiple homes, jet setting from one place to the next place. Mass consumption is growing to match the efficiencies that we've put into place. And I want to talk a little bit more about energy efficiency, because a lot of the idea is we need to be more energy efficient. But I want to tell you a tale. You see, there was a time when the primary fuel source, it was wood. Wood. Along comes coal. Coal, twice as efficient as wood. Twice as efficient. And you don't, so much more environmentally friendly because you don't have to chop down forests. Based on our definition of green being more efficient and less polluting, coal was a green miracle over wood. Then comes petroleum. Petroleum. Twice as efficient as coal. Less sulfur, less mercury. Based on our definition of green, petrol should have been a green miracle. Each time we make something more efficient, we're putting ourselves in that same rebound effect. And the problem we face today is the ideas where everybody's saying, well, the solution is we need to make things more efficient. It doesn't work. It never, ever has worked, because that efficiency will result in being able to produce and consume more stuff with less labor, but nobody wants to consume less, so we land up rebounding into greater consumption. And it's difficult to track the consumption in paperwork because people are going to Mexico for vacations, people are Googling on the internet, and what do you have? You have servers running in some other country that are using coal. We've become global citizens. In Vancouver, a lot of the initiatives that we have to make Vancouver green, they're not entirely all that honest. Like, if you look at something like recycling, part of what constrains the growth of a city is garbage. Garbage. Where do you put all the stuff? In Vancouver, we've run out of places to put it. And now we're building all these new condos. What do we do with all the new garbage that's coming? Well, get people to recycle so we can build more condos. See, the recycling is a way of growing the city. Or even if you look at something like bicycles. Suppose somebody comes from another country. Oh, geez, I'm in Vancouver. Man, I've been sitting in traffic now for 2 hours. This is terrible. I'm moving out here. I'm not investing in this city. No, the idea is, hey, we'll add more bicycle lanes. We'll make the city more efficient. But the idea really is growth. As long as the motive to match efficiency is growth, you land up with an ever-increasing ecological footprint. There are ways this can all be solved. It's very easy to solve. But I'm hoping that we can discuss that later. Solutions, we'll just leave them. I'll get back to the solutions maybe later in the panel discussion, because it is solvable. I just wanted to introduce people to the historical context of how we... Thank you.